Hi guys, my name is Katie Hefner. I've been a Beachbody coach for about 5 years now, and I have just seen such incredible things come into my life because of Beachbody. So I wanted to talk today about turning your pitfalls into profits and exactly what that means, because I know that this business can be, throw you for a loop. So you've become a coach, you put yourself out on a limb, and it's really scary out there. So today my goal is really to help you shift your perspective. And one of the craziest things about this business is success might not be determined by the factors you think. So somebody could be incredibly charismatic and smart and friendly and outgoing and ambitious, but if they aren't learning and growing and strengthening their belief in themselves, their foundation is going to crack and they're going to end up at the bottom of the canyon with Wile E. Coyote. So I'm really into visual examples. You're going to see a lot of analogies on this call, and I really like to look at the meaning behind words. So I was very intentional when I picked the word pitfall as the tagline for this call. And for those of you who don't know, a pitfall is defined as a hidden or unsuspected danger or difficulty. So my job as a mentor is to help you, kind of spotlight those hidden or unsuspected dangers so you can navigate around them and be more successful in a lot quicker time than I was able to. So hopefully by the end of this call, you're going to be able to not only identify your pitfalls, but safely navigate around them and actually use them constructively instead of letting them derail you from your dreams. So just like a broken bone actually grows and heals stronger than before, you can recover from any of these pitfalls with more strength and knowledge before, and that's only going to make you a better leader and a better coach. So using those pitfalls as stepping stones for success and turning pitfalls into profits, which means for you and your families a long, sustainable business that's based on not only helping others, but being proactive about challenges and being authentic with yourself. So to kick things off, I wanted to share a real life example, a tale of two coaches, something that's personal in my business. So these are real life examples. And a quick disclaimer before I go through this. As I go through this example and you find yourself maybe possibly relating to coach number one or coach number two, I want you to focus on what really matters, and that's what you do with the information that I share. So don't worry about if you're coach number one or if you're coach number two. So two coaches sign up in as a Beachbody coach and start their business. Coach number one helped a customer and actually earn a commission on day one. So this girl, she hit the ground running. She was incredible. She was so excited about it and was able to not only help a customer, but earn a commission, right out of the gate. Coach number two didn't have quite that success. So this is really the story of the tortoise, where it was 6 weeks before she earned her first commission. Coach number two hit Success Club in her first month. And not only that, she actually helped 6 people, which means she earned Success Club 12. Whereas coach number two did kind of miss the mark and did not earn any Success Club points. So did not help anybody and was at Success Club 0. Coach number one earned Success Starter, which means for her first 3 months in the business, she earned Success Club. And not only that, she earned 10 plus points per month, which means she helped at least 15 people her first month in the business. Now, by anyone's, observation, this coach is like super successful and really doing an incredible job helping people and putting herself out there. Whereas coach number two, it was 6 months before she realized what Success Club was. And even when she did that and understood how important it was, she only earned Success Club 5, which is still amazing, helping 3 people, but it did take her a little bit of time to get there. Here's where it gets really interesting. Coach number one quit the business 6 months in, whereas coach number two, despite having no initial success, continued to plug away. Coach number one continues to work her full-time job and a side job to pay the bills. And coach number two just so happens to be me, and I just stuck it out. And I'm now a 4-time elite coach. I've been inducted into the Millionaires Club. I've been awarded the Financial Freedom Award, and I continue to have a passion for this business, changing lives not only physically, emotionally, spiritually, but then also financially. So what happened to coach number one? Now, it's kind of crazy because she had everything going for her, but she did not lay the groundwork for success. So her natural abilities and natural excitement became overshadowed by fear and doubt and all of those things like comparison, and that derailed her from her dream, which kept her stuck in her full-time job. Whereas coach number two, me, I figured out everything that didn't work so I could focus on what did, and I used all of those lessons to propel myself forward. So strengthening my belief system and doing personal development and working on personal growth so I could become a stronger mentor. And I'm going to give you guys a formula, guaranteed formula for success later in the call. But first I want to talk about what might be standing in your way so that you don't become coach number one. So some common pitfalls, traps, and success blockers. You maybe are comparing yourself to people. Maybe you're impatient for success. Maybe you're struggling with low self-esteem, so you're feeling unworthy of success or unimportant. Maybe there's a lack of confidence there standing in your way. You could have fear of failure or even fear of success. So when I think of fear of success, I imagine when you're on roller skates and you start going down a hill and you're picking up speed. And if you've never had success before, you might get a little bit freaked out by it. So you make yourself fall over. So you sabotage yourself from having success before you start to really pick up momentum. Perfectionism. This could actually mean two things. The first thing with perfectionism is maybe you're too afraid to mess up, so you end up not even taking action. Or the second thing is you're so ashamed of your struggles that you don't share the stuff that actually connects you to your audience. So for me, examples of things I've been ashamed of in the past would be I'm a college dropout, or when I had financial issues or failed relationships, things like that. Those are the things that when I've shared them, it's actually brought me closer to people. Maybe you've had unexpected challenges or situations or curveballs in your life. You could be rejecting the learning process, which is something that's going to come up over and over again in your business as you reach new levels. So until you get cozy with the learning process, you're always going to struggle with that, and you could very easily get off track by being frustrated that you don't know everything right away, which is also going back into perfectionism. You could have self-limiting beliefs, which that's false information that we've been taught that we perceive to be real but is not real. You could have pride, so fear of judgment, looking weak, looking stupid, anything like that. Or last, which I think is one of the hardest ones to not only detect but kind of, make yourself snap out of it, is you could be sleepwalking. So maybe you're doing all of the right steps, you're doing the 3 vital behaviors, but you're simply going through the motions and you don't have clear intentions with where you're going. So your actions kind of fall flat and they don't really connect with anybody. So if you're sitting there saying, well, I'm doing everything right, I'm doing personal development, I'm doing the 3 vital behaviors, it could be a matter of connecting with your why and really getting passionate and excited about it instead of just going through the motions. So right now, I'm not sure, where you are in the business or what you're going through. You could be facing your own big challenge, and it could be something that's making you doubt if you can make this business work, especially if you think you don't have all the time, the money, energy, and what have you to make it happen. And it's really easy for us to let those voices in our head and our circumstances convince us that we're going to be dealing with this challenge forever and to maybe just give up. But if we do that, if we let that voice win, then we're going to be stuck forever. So we're going to be stuck in that full-time job, just like coach number one, and doing something unfulfilling instead of living out our dreams with purpose and doing something we're really passionate about. So we have to find a way to keep going. So I know that looking at that list of success blockers, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many things that could go wrong. And before I have you completely freaked out by that, I just want to use an example to illustrate how those things can actually be a great thing. And this is totally based on science. So I actually live on a golf course, and while I'm not into golf, I've learned some really interesting things about it. So many of you know what a golf ball looks like, and it has all these little dimples in it. But when golf started, it actually was a smooth ball that they used. And as golfing progressed and people, the good golfers, the more professional golfers were, practicing and doing their thing, they noticed that the golf balls that actually worked better were the ones that had a bunch of they were banged up, bruised, nicked, and they actually flew further and faster, having all that damage done to them. So the more advanced golfers would use the old beat up balls. Well, over time, they realized aerodynamics, and they put these lines in the balls and eventually these dimples, and what it does is it actually reduces drag. So when you think about all the things that we have in life, all of the challenges, and you get, bumped up along the way and bruised, it's actually reducing your drag for the future that's going to propel you further and faster on your path to success. So all those things that we go through, all the challenges, it could be something minor or something major, they're preparing us for the future so that we could handle it better down the road for maybe not even ourselves, but maybe help somebody else handle a situation in their life better. So I want you to embrace those bruises and bumps and just realize that it's going to make you stronger in the long run. So, speaking of embracing things, I want to talk about the learning cycle, a little thing I call business puberty, that really awkward growing pains type stage that you have to go through. And it's going to be a time in your business when you question everything about everything. You're very uncomfortable, you don't know what's going on, you kind of need to find your footing. So, this is where you're really going to feel like you're having that breakdown before your breakthrough. And these transition periods can be unique to each of us. Maybe somebody goes through it quicker when they're a coach to emerald, but then when they get to emerald to diamond, that's where they really struggle. Or maybe somebody breezes right through until they get to a star diamond level, and then they start to kind of panic a little bit because they've never led a team. So it's going to be something that's unique to each of us, but you're going to experience it over and over again as you reach new heights in your business. So I know that's like a really exciting thought, but the good news is I have some ways for you to deal with it. So how do you overcome it? How do you get through it? How do you really just embrace it and have fun with it? The first thing is just a mental thing, just owning it and just, whatever that phase looks like for you, not feeling like you have to have all the answers and not feeling like you have to pretend like you're this resource of information. You're allowed to learn. You're allowed to embrace that part of the journey and say, you know what, I don't know everything. Let me get on the phone with my coach. I'm sure she can answer this question. So people are going to appreciate your honesty and transparency. And the cool thing is, when you don't know everything, it gives people an opportunity to hop in and learn alongside you. So one of my really good friends, one of my first coaches, she was my first diamond, Nikki Mitten, signed up as a coach. I didn't know what in the world I was doing, but she trusted me enough to sign up. And the cool thing was we learned the business together. And now she is uber successful, Millionaires Club, all these accolades behind her name. And it was because I didn't pretend like I needed to be her coach, quote unquote. We were instead business partners, which takes me to my next point, finding a biz BFF. So I can say personally, if it weren't for success partners, connecting with other coaches, working with Nikki and Melanie, that I would have gone crazy by now. And this is where you can really, reach out to somebody that you respect, or maybe there's somebody who's a peer who's running at the same pace as you, or maybe even a little bit faster. And connecting with them, talking to them, brainstorming with them, keeping each other accountable is going to encourage you to ramp up things in your own business and come up with really cool ideas. So even for this call, for example, I consulted some of my peers in this business just for ideas, for clarity, kind of bouncing things off. Hey, what do you think of this? And it really helped me hone in on my message. So no matter what stage in the business you are, it's always great to have a success partner or somebody to kind of lean on. Number 3, this is honestly one of my favorites, being resourceful. So you'll always find me Googling things and keeping that curiosity alive. There's tons of resources in the Coach Online office or YouTube or your team Facebook page. So in my opinion, there's no excuse to stay in the dark. You have literally the world full of information at your fingertips, and it's up to you to use it, to be resourceful and to figure out those answers. And through that process, you actually build confidence, which is awesome. Number 4, mind your business. I know that this is really hard and it's basically going against your human nature, but I want you to at least try to not measure your success by comparing yourself to somebody else's story. And the truth is, often when we're comparing ourselves, we don't have the whole picture. That other coach who you think has it all figured out might be admiring things that you have in your life. So the point is not to compare, to mind your business. And at the end of the day, you could be comparing yourself and holding yourself to a standard as somebody who's been in the business for 5 years. So you have to run your own race and know that that's what's going to make your experience unique. And it's going to, all those struggles that you're going through right now are building those bumps and bruises so you can go down the road and go even further than you ever imagined. The last thing is to document it. So I know everybody, your eyes glaze over when you hear business tracker or anything like that. But tracking it really is, I think, a pretty cool thing to be able to do. This is just a phase that you're going through right now, and it's not going to last forever. So if you can keep some kind of growth chart to track what you learn as you go, or, where you are, you're going to be so glad down the road to not only see how far you've come, but then what's crazy is when I was even thinking about this call, for me to be able to put together that first example and show you kind of some of my beginning stats, it's so cool. That's what makes me a better mentor and makes me able to relate to some of my coaches better. So I can show them, hey, this is where I was. I was able to kind of keep keep an eye on where I was and to see how far I've come. So even though that initial, lack of success was a little bit embarrassing at the time, now I really lean on that to show my coaches what's possible over the long haul. So I love being able to have some of my awkward stages to share with you guys. And honestly, you're in new territory right now. Anything you do, it's like just so much information coming at you about marketing and networking and social media and all these things. I just want you to remember that when we give ourselves permission to learn and to be awkward, that's when we feel our greatest sense of aliveness. So don't numb yourself to this process. Don't numb yourself to the fact that everything is new and exciting. And yeah, it's a little bit scary, but that's where you're really going to find your potential. So right now, if you're feeling like your potential and your reality don't quite match, you're not alone. There's so many people that feel like that. That's completely normal feeling. And it's the even best part of it is it's a good sign of things to come. So it's going to happen as we learn and stretch ourselves at each new level. So you're just going to have to cozy up with that awkward feeling. The next pitfall I want to talk about is fear. And there's a very, specific group of people who experience fear. Fear is defined as an emotion. So it's an emotion that we have that's caused by a belief in our heads that somebody or something is dangerous to us and is likely to cause pain or threat. So it's a belief that we've built up, an emotion. So if you imagine yourself, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of heights, but I do get a little bit like, heartbeat starts to go if I'm standing at the edge of a tall building or something like that. So if you imagine yourself on the ledge of a tall building and you close your eyes and you really picture yourself being there, you could feel your heart rate start to go and you start to get a little panicky. You're still sitting in your car or you're sitting on your couch or whatever, but those emotions come up because the belief in our head that we're in an area of, where something could bring us harm. So in this business, it's crazy because when you think about messaging somebody or inviting somebody, those fearful feelings start to come up. It's like, what if they reject me? What if I look stupid? I'm really putting myself out there by posting my before pictures and I'm feeling very vulnerable. What if I'm humiliated or, there's some type of backlash where nobody talks to me because I'm in this network marketing business? I want you to do yourself a favor and just release those feelings because you are feeling exactly what everybody else is feeling. Everybody has fear. And they're just as afraid as you are. We all want the same things out of life. We want to feel safe. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel included. We want recognition. And we want the freedom to be able to express ourselves and be who we are. So, I love the saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. We're all going to experience that fear. But how do we get past it? So, here's the crazy part. We all have, like those bumps and bruises with the golf ball, we all have things that have happened in our past that have created negative or embarrassing or painful experiences that kind of preconditions us to be, a little bit, more fearful, a little bit more apprehensive about taking action. And that's where we become afraid to go after what we want. We become a little bit passive and just end up settling for less than we want. And we end up using all of our energy to protect ourselves instead of going out there and using that energy to create what we want. So I want to talk a little bit about how do you overcome that fear? How do you kind of push it aside and use your energy for, creation of the things that you want? So the first thing is to analyze your fear. If you think about okay, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And could I get past that? Could I survive it? So, if I think about, okay, I'm going to invite somebody and I'm going to invite them to a challenge or I'm going to invite them to, join my team. The first thing that could happen is I could get rejected. They could just not want to do it or think it's silly or whatever, which, okay, it's not for everybody. That's fine. But I think the more painful thing, the second thing that could happen is if I reject them before I even give them the chance. That to me is so painful and hurtful to think that I could deny somebody this incredible opportunity that's completely made my life just every day I wake up with such gratitude that Lindsay, brought me into the business and mentored me and helped me create this life. And so if I were to deny somebody of that and have that missed opportunity, that just hurts my heart. So that would be more scary to me actually than not inviting them. So what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And you kind of realize that there's not anything really awful that's going to happen. Number two, you realize that you really haven't lost anything. So, as just a silly example, if you applied to Harvard and you didn't get in, you weren't in Harvard before you applied. You're not in Harvard after you applied. So, your life pretty much stayed the same. So, you didn't lose anything by applying or inviting or sharing. Number three, what's the best thing that could happen? This is really cool because then you start to get excited. You start to think about why you're doing it in the first place and, all the incredible possibilities. And instead of being fearful, you start to have those like little butterflies and you're like, oh my gosh, why would I ever not do this? Because look at the incredible potential before me. Number four, feel the fear and do it anyway. So I want you to think of fear as an ungracious, very boring, very annoying house guest who has overstayed his welcome. That's what fear is. Fear only sticks around if we let it. So I want you to kick this house guest out of your head and let him go. Just let it go and focus on, like I was saying, the best things that could happen and think about all of the incredible potential before you. And remember that action conquers fear. So when you're taking action, that's what's going to propel you forward, and you have those like small successes that encourage you to keep going. And when you put yourself in a position of action, even when you're afraid, you actually get those feel-good endorphins. And sometimes I find that I'm so busy working on whatever that goal is and taking action that I forget to be afraid. So it kind of kicks it out of your head. So kick that really annoying house guest out of your head. And some of this, it's going to take time. It's going to take developing your confidence, which is the next thing I want to talk about. I have this really cool analogy called the poker chip theory. So if you imagine people playing poker and they're players who have a small stack of chips and maybe a player that has a large stack of chips, the person with a small stack of chips is going to play more cautiously because they don't have as much to go around. They have to be a little bit more careful about what they bet and what they put out there. Whereas the person with the large stack of chips is way more comfortable taking risks. So they could, put 5 chips down and be okay. Whereas if the other person only has 5 chips, they really, are like, ooh, I don't want to lose my whole supply here. So this relates to confidence. If you have a lot of confidence, you're going to be a lot more comfortable betting on yourself and taking risks. So if you think about in a classroom, if a student has a small stack of chips or, low self-confidence, and a teacher asks a question and that student knows the answer, even if they are sure that they know the answer because they don't have a lot of chips or they're not going to be taking a lot of risk, they won't raise their hand for fear of rejection, humiliation, everybody laughing at them if they don't get the answer correct. Whereas another student in the classroom has a large stack of chips or a lot of confidence, and this student might not know the answer, but is like, you know what, hey, I think I might know it. I'm going to raise my hand, see what happens, and worst case scenario, they just correct me. So because that student has a lot of chips, even if they are wrong, it's not even going to make really much of a difference. They're constantly doing things to rebuild their supply of chips. So how do you build your stack of chips? How do you build your confidence? So I'm, again, very visual. So I was imagining, what happens in your life when you have low self-confidence and what happens in your life when you have a lot of confidence. Well, if you visualize a funnel, at the base of the funnel is a very small opening. And that's where I visualize when you have low self-confidence, you have just that small opening for things to be able to come into your life. So very limited things can come into your life when you're very closed off. So you're limited by your confidence, and maybe, you're a new coach and you just kind of are getting started and you're kind of figuring things out and you're almost like pushing things away subconsciously because you don't think you can handle them yet or you're nervous. So I remember one thing that I did, it took me, probably 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks to sign up my first coach. And I remember almost thinking, I hope she says no because I don't know what to do next. So I'm pushing success away because I'm too nervous. I'm not confident enough as a leader or coach to take on that next level of the business. And thankfully I got over that through these steps. So plugging into your team calls and events, really connecting with your why and getting passionate about it, having a success partner, somebody that can keep you accountable and remind you why you're building the business in the first place. And then, of course, most importantly, in my opinion, is doing personal development and working on yourself. So, reading and going to seminars and really just growing as a person. And as you do that, your confidence grows and you get closer to the opening of the funnel where it's a lot wider and more things, you're open and receptive to people and experiences and opportunities, and all these wonderful things start to happen because all of a sudden you're seeing them, you're open to them, you're almost like attracting them like a magnet into your life and into your business. So I am a very introverted person, and I'm very much a homebody, especially with the dogs. I love to spend time with them. So a lot of times I have to make that conscious decision to get out of the house. And there have been many times when it's just more comfortable for me to say, oh no, I'm just going to stay home. But the times that I've gone out to different events and things, I've met people, and it's really cool to see how that pans out, where you meet somebody and then they're become a customer and you help them, and it's so exciting to realize that you have an impact on somebody else's life, and then maybe they go on to join your team and they become a really good friend, and all these wonderful things happen because you're open to it and you're not closed off to the world, kind of keeping your eyes down and keeping to yourself. You're open to all these new situations and people. So as you fuel your confidence, then you're going to just build that stack of chips, and then all of a sudden you're open to more experiences, you're taking more risk, and you're really saying yes to a lot more, which is awesome. For the next pitfall, I want to talk about monkey business. So this is like a really fun story or a study that I have to share with you guys because I just think it's incredible. So I want to talk about limiting beliefs, and a limiting belief is kind of crazy because when you come into the world, you're born, and as you grow up, we become programmed by all the people in our lives. So that means our parents, our friends, our peers, our teachers, church, media, all these different things, and they're providing us with all this information and rules about how the world works. But that information is not always true, it's not always correct, and it's not always in our best interest. So to illustrate that, I want to share this study of these monkeys. So I want you to imagine 4 monkeys are placed in this room, and it has a very tall pole in the center, and at the top of that pole, there's a bunch of bananas. So one of the hungry little monkeys is like, oh, bananas, and it starts climbing the pole to get something to eat. He gets to the top of the pole, and just as he reaches out to grab one of those yummy bananas, he gets doused with this cold water. And he squeals and he scampers down the pole, and he just completely abandons his attempt to feed himself. Now, each of the 4 monkeys made a similar attempt, and each of them got doused with this cold water. And after making several attempts to try to get these bananas, they finally just, said, hey, I give up. So then the researchers removed one of the monkeys and replaced him with a new monkey. So this new monkey comes in, he's never been doused with water, and he begins to climb that pole. The other 3 monkeys freak out, and they grab him and they try to pull him down to the ground. And after trying to climb the pole several times and being dragged down by the others, he finally gives up, and he just never attempts to go up the pole again to get a banana. Now the researchers replaced the original monkeys one by one with new ones, and each time a new monkey was brought in, he would be dragged down by the others before he could reach the bananas. In time, only bananas who had never received a cold shower were in the room, but none of them would climb the pole. They prevented one another from climbing, but none of them knew why. And that's the crazy thing about limiting beliefs. You could have something ingrained in your subconscious and you don't even know why it's a bad thing. So I always think of, what if your parents have a friend who was in a network marketing business in the 80s and it turned out to just not be a really good thing, or maybe it was a scam or whatever happened, and they hear that you're doing network marketing and they kind of spaz out a little bit and say, oh, that's such a horrible thing, and you're going to lose all kinds of money and you're going to get hurt and be so disappointed. And you freak out, but you don't even know why. You haven't had that experience. So that type of limiting belief can really hold you back. So I want to give you some examples because there are many. So maybe you've heard your grandparents or somebody say, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. So then you start to think of all these amazing dreams that you have in your future as a bad thing. And I see oftentimes in movies where people with financial abundance are portrayed in this really horrible light. They become these very cold people, and they're just awful and mean and like Cruella de Vil type thing. And it's like, you kind of get that limiting belief stuck in your head of like, oh, money is the root of all evil, instead of realizing that money is a resource and tool that can help you help others and pursue interest and provide a really amazing life for your family. Another one could be you're successful to deprive others. There's not enough to go around, so you have to hold yourself back so that you're not taking from somebody else's potential success. They could, you can have people in your life say, you're so selfish, you only think of yourself. It's really selfish of you to work out and take care of yourself when you have children, and you should be attending to their needs all the time. Other ones, stop asking stupid questions, just keep your mouth shut. Why can't you be like everybody else? If you don't want too much out of life, you're never going to be disappointed. Go get a real job. It could be health and fitness related, like you're just big boned. This is just how things are. So these silent false beliefs are subconsciously controlling our actions. And if you find yourself rationalizing, sitting there thinking why you can't or should not be successful, why it's a bad thing, I want you to pause for a moment and think about where that belief came from. And is that something you would want your best friend or child to believe? Or is that something where, there's not a lot of, meat behind it, where you're like, what is this belief even? Like, where does this come from? This is just somebody else's limiting belief that has been put on me. So a common one that I hear from coaches, when they don't have initial success, is they think, I'm just not good at this, so I should just give up, quit while I'm ahead, because obviously I'm not cut out for it. Well, as you can see from my experience, that initial success or not having success is not any indication of future success. It's what you do with it and who keeps plugging away and who keeps going after their dreams. So instead of focusing on all the reasons that you can't or should not have success, I want you to focus on positive wins. And they could be small. It doesn't have to be these big giant leaps of success. It could be something like you took a leap of faith and signed up and you pursued something that you were interested in. That's a really exciting win. Maybe you started a fitness program. Maybe you've, reached a new height in a fitness goal that you have, or lost 5 pounds, or you've had a transformation, or you helped somebody else get started on their transformation. Or maybe it's just that you allowed yourself to start dreaming again and thinking about, the community that you've joined and how positive it is and how you can start to spread that positivity. So you want to replace all of those really doubting thoughts and the fear and these like limiting beliefs with more positive ones. And I personally am a huge believer in affirmations. I have them set up on my phone as reminders. I have them on my desk. There are things that I've believed in my life that I've really had to work at to change a limiting belief so that it no longer becomes second nature. So for example, one was like, nothing ever goes my way. And instead of thinking that in my head, I have to pause and say, my affirmation, which is, my efforts are being supported by the universe. My dreams are manifesting into reality before my eyes. You could have something like, a thought that's like, I'll never get what I want, or I don't deserve what I want. Instead, say something like, I'm joyfully and skillfully creating what I want in life with the support and aid of others. Or you could, think of something like, what's the point of trying? I'm never going to reach my goal weight. Instead, you want to think to yourself or say to yourself, with each attempt I make, with each workout and each healthy food choice, I'm getting closer and closer to my goal. The next pitfall is inaction. That simply means just not doing what we know that we should do. So the greatest gap exists between what we know and what we take action on. And there's this thing called the law of diminishing intent. So that means the longer you wait to do something, the greater the odds that you'll never actually do it. So I could tell you many stories of my business. For example, when I had my Brazil butt lift transformation, I thought, gosh, I should make a video. As each day went on, I just kept thinking, oh yeah, I'll get to that someday. And time goes on and on and on, and then you end up never doing it. So you lose that initial excitement for that goal. So it's really important that you ditch that someday mentality and just start today. Narrow in on what are the 3 most effective, important things I could do today and do those. Don't create this long to-do list. And Smart Success, or that 30-day push from Chalene Johnson, is a really great resource to really hone in on some of the things that you should be doing. But everything goes through a cycle of completion, and the cycle of completion kind of goes like this. Number 1, you choose to do something, then you start to do it, then you continue doing it, then you finish doing it, and then you acknowledge that it's done. And any of those 5 steps can get screwed up. You could never choose what you want. You're spending too much time deciding what you want to do, or you're waiting for that decision to just fall in your lap. And then once you decide what you want to do, you have to actually start doing it. So I see this all the time where people choose things and they plan them, but then they never take action and do them. Or people start to do something and they don't continue to do it, or they continue to do it and they don't finish it, or they finish it and they never celebrate that or acknowledge it. So they don't get those little bumps of confidence. So even when you complete small tasks, when you check off things in your to-do list and you get to put that little tick mark, that builds your confidence because you start to see what you're capable of doing. And those little small wins along the way help you build that stack of chips so you take more action, and you take more risk, and you start doing more, and you start to have more success. But if you're not doing things, you're not taking action, then you're going to stay in that pitfall of fear. You're going to stay in that pitfall of inaction. The other thing about taking action, a lot of people get caught up in that perfectionism. So I call that analysis paralysis, where you're thinking about, it's got to be perfect. Like, I've got to over deliver and I've got to really wow people, and it's going to have pixie dust all over it and it's just going to blow their minds. Instead of thinking like that, I want you to think about start before you're ready. Get something out there. Don't wait until it's perfect. And in my first year of the business, that was a commitment that I made to myself. Instead of making everything look all pretty and perfect, I was just going to do, and I was going to stop planning and predicting and perfecting and just go for it. And rely on faith, the wings of faith, and just hope that I'm going to build my wings on the way down as I jump off the cliff and just go for my dreams. And pretty quickly I figured out that good enough was good enough, and I was going to continue to get better as I went because I was taking enough action that I was learning as I go, and that's what helped me cartwheel into success. So when you're tempted to overanalyze everything and freak out, I want you to take a breath, to snap back to reality, and just remember progress over perfection. The last pitfall I want to talk about is being a zombie, sleepwalking through your business. So when you're sleepwalking through your business and you're just going through the motions and you're just copy pasting messages or something like that, you're just, it's like nobody is going to connect with. There's nothing there for them to connect with. There's nothing there for them to get excited about. They don't look at you and say, oh my gosh, like she's really going for what she wants, or she's, if you're not excited about it, doesn't give them an opportunity to get excited about it. So I want you to take a step back and reevaluate what really matters to you, how you want to be spending your time and why. And instead of going through the motions, you start to develop that deep passion. You start to connect your goals with your why, and you start to think, okay, I'm inviting these people because it's important for me. Like, I love to be able to help people, and ultimately that's going to help me stay home with my children. You start to assign meaning to your struggles. So instead of getting frustrated about everything that's going wrong, you start to think about, where's the lesson here, and why is this going to help me become a stronger mentor or coach in the future? You start blocking out the noise and the distractions, so stopping the comparison. You can go back to that list of common pitfalls, and a lot of those, really feed into this zombie stage where maybe you're so fearful that you start to kind of just numb yourself to the learning process, and you start to just go through the motions instead of saying, hey, you know what? I need to run my own race. I need to block everything out, and I need to just focus, have fun, and do what I love doing. The other thing I want to talk about is copying and pasting, which, if you're a newer coach, definitely 100% success leaves clues and follow the example of successful coaches. But at the same time, you should be working to find your voice. So instead of having a cookie cutter approach and just copying and pasting somebody else's post or messages, you really need to work on honing in on, what's important to you, your voice, your story, and that's going to help you connect with customers. If you never do that, you're selling yourself short, and you're never going to have that authentic connection with, anybody that relates to you or anybody that messages you. So if you can merge clarity with authenticity, where you're clear about your goals, you're clear about your dreams, you're excited about them, and you're being authentically yourself and really shining through with what's important to you, that's when you discover the magic of being a coach. So I want you to be very intentional in your business and don't just go through the motions. So I promised you guys a formula for success, and I hope that this doesn't disappoint. This is just so important that we're constantly taking action, assessing that action, refining what we're doing, and then repeating the whole process. So the formula for success goes like this. Number 1, find out what's working for you and do more of it. You have something that's working, then amp it up. Number 2, find out what's not working and just knock it off. Stop it. Number 3, trying new things. And then you go back to number 1 and 2, what works and what doesn't work. So take action, assess that action, refine it, throw it away if it's not working, and then repeat the process as you try new things. I want you to think about if you're driving down the highway and you miss your exit. You're not going to continue driving the wrong direction. You're going to take action and really figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get back on track? Do I need to make a U-turn? Do I need to course correct by getting off at this next exit? So you're constantly just taking action, and that action might veer you off track here and there, but then you're constantly getting back on the road to success. And successful people keep that vision in mind and continue to do that process over and over and over again. So what makes somebody successful in the business? Number 1, they're very clear about what they want. They know their goals. They know why they want them. Number 2, they believe they're worthy of receiving them. So they're building up their confidence so that they know that they have incredible self-worth and that they are worthy of getting those incredible things. They're chucking out those self-limiting beliefs. Number 3, they're passionate about it. They're not sleepwalking through it. Number 4, they take action despite fear. They know that everybody has fear. They know that it's going to come up over and over again, but they take action anyway. They do it anyway. They feel the fear and they do it anyway. Number 5, they learn from experience. So they're going through that process of taking action, assessing that action, and repeating that whole process over and over, refining what they're doing. And number 6, they're persistent. They don't give up. They keep going after day, no matter what curveballs happen or what pitfall they fall into. They figure out a way that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, assign meaning to whatever lesson that has come into their life, whatever curveball, and they turn that weakness into one of their greatest strengths or one of the greatest ways for people to connect with their story. So I want to leave you with this little slide. I love this because it really defines the road to success and being able to navigate all those pitfalls. So the road to success is not straight. There's a curve called failure, a loop called confusion, speed bumps called friends, red lights called enemies, caution lights called family, and flats called jobs. But if you have a spare tire called determination, an engine called perseverance, insurance called faith, and a driver from above, you will make it to a place called success. So I just want to leave you with the thought, to continue going and to be able to use your experiences and your pitfalls to only serve to make you stronger, and to remember that it's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's not about, being the perfect leader or the perfect coach or having it all together. It's simply about continuing to build that foundation of success based on belief in yourself, belief in the business, belief in the products, belief in your team, belief in the people around you, and to be able to enjoy it and have fun with it, because that passion is going to pull more people in. You're going to become a magnet for success, and you're going to have the most fun doing it. You're going to love it. So I hope that leaves you with some solid things to think about, and I will talk to you guys soon. If you have anything you would love to leave in the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts.